I'd like to welcome everyone to today's webinar, How to Enhance Efficiency, Safety, and Security in Your Fleet. Before we begin the presentation today, I'd like to go over a few technical details with you all. Please feel free to use the chat box to ask any questions of our speakers. They will respond to your questions and comments throughout the presentation, but we'll also have time at the end for Q&A as well. So please feel free to type those in at any time. A reminder that today's event is being recorded and a copy will be emailed out to everyone within 24 hours, along with access to a PDF copy of today's presentation slides. So again, this event is being recorded and that will be sent out later along with a copy of the slides. I know that's everyone's #1 question. Our speakers for today are Stan Mikalonis and Paul Marsolan. Stan is Battle Motors Chief Revenue Officer. He is responsible for all sales and revenue growth opportunities for the company. Stan is a dynamic executive leader with over 30 years of progressive experience, primarily in the truck manufacturing industry. He also has a strong educational profile highlighted by a PhD in organizational management, focused on building and developing high-performing sales teams through sales enablement strategies. Also joining us today is Paul Marsolan, who is Battle Motors Chief Software Engineer. He is an entrepreneur with more than 8 years of experience creating technology startups with an extensive background in IT infrastructure, telecommunication strategies, mobile development, and wireless technologies. To begin today's presentation, please join us in watching a short video, and then we will jump into the presentation itself.
Battle Motors is the industry leader in heavy-duty EV truck manufacturing. We are rolling into the future today. Battle Motors provides electrified severe-duty truck chassis for all applications. At Battle Motors, we lead the BEV charge by manufacturing durable, performance-driven trucks, all while delivering significantly reduced operator costs and eliminating emissions. Battle Motors provides 2 models, the EV LET2 and the EV LNT. These high-tech heavy-duty vehicles provide lower cost operation than traditional diesel trucks, regenerative braking, T-Mobile network connections for vehicle tracking, fleet management, and predictive maintenance. Cleaner, zero emissions with no idling or driving output. Battle Motors is expanding their EV offerings to new industries, utility, general freight, delivery, beverage, and construction. Financing is now available through Battle Motors Capital. Bypass the banks. You will deal directly with Battle Motors Capital and our finance partner, Mitsubishi HC Capital America. We have created an industry first by giving dealers the option to offer a rental unit, creating an unrivaled opportunity to take customer engagement to the next level. Battle Motors, rolling into the future today.
With that, I'd like to turn things over to Stan Mikalonis.
Thank you very much and welcome everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. As a matter of an introduction and an update on what's happening with Battle Motors, my presentation will really just address who we are, what we do, and why it matters, and bring you up to speed on what's new with us here at Battle Motors, especially with a focus on technology, which Paul will speak to you more specifically about. You can go to the next one, sir. So most of you know that Battle Motors is a purchased crane carrier, which is a 76-year-old company that was primarily focused on municipal refuse business. So they also did some military vehicles and actual crane carriers. But in 2021, in April, Mike Patterson, the owner and founder of Battle Motors, bought crane carrier and made major investments, not only in facilities, but in the product development and people to help us grow not only in the refuse segments, but also into commercial markets. So we have proven technology in our cab, in our powertrain, but what Paul's going to speak to you about is what we're doing with our product from advanced technology standpoint, which is really unexpected in the refuse business. But as you can see, we have grown exponentially since 2021. The number we're not showing you is right around 300 trucks. So last year was a little over 700, and this year in 2023 we're going to be right at 2,500 trucks, and plans to go well beyond that in the future. When I talked to you a little bit about some of the non-refuse markets that we're going to be moving into shortly. We have business in all the major metropolitan areas. Again, our core and our base was municipal refuse, so that's not surprising. But I'll tell you that the demographics of our business over the last year, going from 300 to 700 to 2,500 has switched from municipal refuse to more private refuse and some commercial markets, which I'll speak to. But we're still doing quite a bit of business in municipal, but as the total number of trucks grow, the percentage of municipal to private changes. So also growing our dealer network. We have new dealers coming on board every month, and we're trying to make sure that we can provide the parts service and that local street fighting grassroots touch points that refuse customers and municipalities need and expect. Next slide, sir. So this is just a graphical illustration of how we went from 135,000 square feet, which was the original crane carrier plant in New Philadelphia, Ohio, and we've invested over $150 million in the plant, and now we're at 325,000 square feet, and with the capacity moving from 300 trucks a year to 4,000 trucks a year. And we've also purchased all of the property around our plant in New Philadelphia, where we have the ability to expand not only warehousing, but offices and more production, to the extent that we feel like we could get to 8,000 to 10,000 trucks out of the New Philadelphia footprint. So just as a kind of a refresher on the trucks that we offer, we have our narrow tilt low entry cab that we call the LNT, which is the primary truck that we sell in the electric market, the BEV market. And it's an 82-inch wide cab. It gives you all the features and benefits of our big boy truck, which is the LET2. There's no doghouse in this truck. It still has the 18-inch entry, and it has plenty of room in the cab. It almost feels a lot bigger than it actually is in terms of the dimensions. So then you have our LET2 truck, which is the bread and butter product that most of our municipal customers purchase, and the majority of our refuse customers do. We have it in diesel, natural gas, and of course electric, and it's an 84-inch wide cab. And one of the unique things about our configurations from a cab perspective is that we offer a true 4-man cab with our extended, we call it a crew cab, but it's an extended cab that allows you to have 4 men in the truck. So very popular with rear loader applications. We offer it in multiple steering configurations as well. So that's just a high level view of what we're offering, and everything we do on the diesel side and natural gas side, we offer in the electric side. So this is really the money slide on when people ask me all the time, like, hey, how do you grow? How did you guys expand your business so dramatically, particularly on the EV side? The middle picture of the refuse truck, that's our core. And that's a little alley truck that we are promoting and selling to a lot of municipalities for special alley pickup, for special events around New Year's and 4th of July. And it's really great getting in and out of narrow streets. Then we have the street sweeper that was launched at the Las Vegas show here back in January or February. It's going to be out at ACT, so you guys can see that with our partnership with Elgin. And then you talk about non-sanitation, non-refuse markets. We're into the beverage delivery market. That's an 8-bay Hackney body that we have running in New York. We're into the dry van general freight market. We're selling trucks into beverage companies to haul keg beer That's a rail lift drive van you see on the lower left. And probably the most exciting product that I think that's on the horizon, which will be available in mid to late summer, is the city tractor, which we're going to offer in a single axle and a tandem axle. And we could do a lot of different things with that. Anything from hauling on private roads, landfill to MRF. For sanitation, we're also going to we have a configuration for a spotter and switcher. And we also are going to offer a tandem axle application in a 400 kilowatt that's going to allow us to get on highway. It's a great truck for our inner city because it has that low entry and great turning radius, excellent visibility, which really leads into why we think we have one of the safest products on the road. And I'll hand it off to Paul now to talk about all the technology that we're putting in to these BEV units to make it the safest.
One more for you, Stan.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Sorry. So one of the things that we were able to do, in addition to developing the product line, is that we have added Battle Motors Capital to our portfolio. So it's not really a separate company, but it's a separate entity within Battle Motors, and it's underwritten by Mitsubishi Capital. And what this allows us to do, and part of my background is captive finance and leasing, what this allows us to do is make the electric truck more affordable and give some flexibility to municipalities, because we do offer a municipal lease program. We offer FMVs, which are walk-away lease products. We'll do retail financing, and you can also apply and embed grants and vouchers into any of the lease products or retail products that we have. So instead of spending hundreds of thousands of dollars upfront in CapEx to buy trucks, you can actually lease them, and we go up to 84 months on the lease product. And the great thing about it is it saves money on cash flow. It allows you to just throw us the keys at the end of the lease and upgrade to another electric truck. So we're really excited about what we can do and the flexibility that we have having our own captive finance company. So I encourage you guys to engage us in those conversations if that's something of interest to you.
Cool. Thanks, Stan.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Hi, I'm Paul, Chief Software Officer. So I get the fun of making all the cool software stuff come to life in these vehicles, and the vision for the company and for me to these trucks is the vocational trucks and the residential vehicles that we all drive are really like a decade apart almost, and operator comfort, operator usage, operator everything else. And so part of what I was going to do, what I am doing, and the instructions of my team were, let's make this more like a residential vehicle. Let's bring in the capabilities, the technology, the things that we all are used to, touch screens, and make this part of the vehicle. And one of the byproducts of that has been easier installation for the factory, easier maintenance for the fleet, and having just a single piece for this digital dash versus having 10 or 15 analog switches or gauges. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide there. So let's talk about the digital dash and what we can do with it. So basically, the system is set up to be a Internet of Things, basically, for lack of a better phrase. We are capturing a tremendous amount of data from the truck at any given time and passing that up to our servers. We use this information for route management, following the location of the vehicle, compliance, any type of fault codes we can identify, and we are building models on the back end to be able to do preventative maintenance on vehicles and figure out at what point in time does something fail. And if we expect something to fail at 130,000 miles, okay, great. Let's notify the fleet manager that they probably need to update this or change this piece before it fails to keep the truck up and moving. And that's the back end side. So that's the server side. The digital instrument cluster provides a human interface for us to be able to do a lot of these things also. So we also get to show the dash. We also have our full CAD drawing of the vehicle, VIN specific details. So you don't have to go find a manual or a part number. You can actually just pull it right up on the dash. We get lots of good configuration capabilities from the dash also, especially in the electric vehicle market. You're able to turn on regen braking to a low, standard, or high, depending upon your preferences and what you want to, or the driver wants to extend that battery more and get more power back from the regen braking. You can go to the next slide. Here's another, this is really just a better example of the data collection process that we have from the vehicles themselves to our servers. And then we also can integrate with third parties. So if you have a fleet management system that you're using today, that's perfectly fine. We can take the data from our vehicles, put it on, it'll be in our servers, and we can build a trusted API in between third party fleet management softwares to be able to allow for a very homogeneous ecosystem with whatever you're using. So we've integrated with homegrown systems. We've integrated with other third-party fleet management systems. So allowing this open-based API solution that still remains very secure. You would obviously need to have some trusted credentials between our APIs for authentication purposes, but we're able to share all the data that we were getting from the vehicles and pass that along to basically use the fleet managers. All right, next slide, please. So the digital dash, we call this RevolutionOS. And basically, this is a homegrown system. So we wrote this all on top of Android for us, essentially. So we've built in a lot of the things that we want to be able to see in these things. We're using mutual TLS communication, so it's digitally signed between the servers, and the server and the trucks themselves. We have digital signatures taking place, so very secure communication. In fact, more secure than when you log into your bank on your phone. We're able to do some really, really cool things with this capabilities and this system and software package that we have on these trucks. You see a picture of the human interface right here of the dash. It's a touch screen, so you can actually swipe on this screen to get to other pieces of the product that we were talking about before. Again, the VIM specific CAD drawings of that physical truck, you can see right there. We also offer QR codes, so the fleet team doesn't have to look at it just on the dash here. They can actually pull it off onto their phone or bring it onto their desktop very easily from that perspective. And you can actually order parts directly on here if you want to allow that for the fleet managers to be able to do those things. Other really powerful features that we're able to offer is upgrading of not only the software when it's out in the field, so we can create new features and add them to these, including custom logos or change the top speed of the vehicle. We've done that a couple times for some customers. And we can push those changes down over the air to the vehicles as they're already deployed. So as things come up, as we find optimizations, as we hear like new features that would be interesting for you or the marketplace, we're able to add those and not have to bring them in to a service center to get updated. We can just pass them down to the car, pass them down to the vehicle. Again, this is all very common for us as residential drivers, but very revolutionary for the vocational space. All right, next slide, please. This is an example of our web interface. So all this data that we collect, right? Tons and tons of data. We pass up to our servers, and we try to distill that down to things that are of interest and value to fleet managers. So how long did the truck run on route? Where did it go? Here's the GPS locations. How fast was it traveling, on the freeway? What was its top speed? What was its average speed? What speed is it going right this second? So you're able to look at real-time and historical location data about the vehicles, again, in real time, and then use that information to not only give driver coaching to be able to meet compliance for weights, know where the truck is at any given time. So if you need to adjust routes, you can actually take that route data and pass down a message to the driver physically in the digital dash, which we offer as a premium feature, and also routing. So we can actually do turn-by-turn directions to specific routes. If you have them, you can upload your routes into the system and we can give you turn-by-turn directions right there in the digital dash. And then you can do all that in real time too. So it doesn't have to be the thing that I hear from a lot of fleet managers today in the refuse space is they hand the guy a piece of paper, says go run your route, right? But if a truck breaks down someplace else and they need to go finish that route, how do they know? Well, they call them today on their phone, right? Say, oh, Bill's truck broke down. We need you to go finish that route. In this use case, you can just message the driver and say, hey, please go to the new route that we're sending to your dash now. And we pass that down to the digital dash. Next slide, please. So safety. So these trucks, as Stan was saying before, are tried and true. They're solid steel. They're fantastic little vehicles. I use the word little. They're fantastically large vehicles, and they're, the cab has been tested in the marketplace for 70 some odd years in the chassis, which we gain great benefits from developing on. The negative of that is it really didn't change a whole lot since like the 90s, right? So there's very little safety involved until recently. So we've brought in Mobileye as a partner to allow for passive information for warning for forward collisions, lane departure, pedestrians and cyclists, speed limit indicators. And we're actually able to consume all this data onto the digital dash and show it to the operator, and also be able to start to save those things on the server. So you can actually give driver coaching. You could say, got too close to a pedestrian here, you're driving too close to the vehicle in front of you, you're going too fast, et cetera, et cetera. We are on our roadmap, we're looking at building a camera solution that would be able to take in all these cameras that you see here on the left-hand side and be able to consume all those video inputs into one thing to allow for the digital dash to show all the relevant data. Again, very much like your residential vehicles today, you put the car in reverse, you get a nice pretty 360 view of that vehicle, right? Why don't we have that in vocational trucks? Why does it look like a security guard apparatus of all these different screens of all the cameras? Let's use some intelligence to bring in this camera feed and show the driver and the operator what's important to them at that time. And so that's what the goal is of this. And we'll have this in early next year to be able to bring to the marketplace. Next slide. Reporting. So we have the capability to show all kinds of wonderful data about these trucks. Again, the mentality of the team has really been collect all the data that we can, bring it to the servers, and then as customers ask us for things, we can start to display those things in interesting ways. And so what we've done here, as you see it in the screenshot, we've created a graph of data that allows for you to be able to zoom in, zoom out on things that you think are interesting. So in this particular case, we have fuel level, vehicle speed, and odometer in this use case, but you can change it to numerous different. We have the capability for you to have, I think, 15 or 20 different fields in this graph pool. So you can able to really select and find the information that you care to see about what drivers are doing. And this becomes really interesting. In fact, I was just on a call with a large customer, and they were looking at the charge cycle of the BEV going from 20% up to 100%, and what happens as the battery reaches that 90% mark and starts to slow down its charge intake. And you're able to see that curve actually on these graphs and be able to, they're using that information to build into their analytics of how much they need to charge these vehicles before going on routes. So it becomes very beneficial for things that we had no idea it would actually even show, but they've been very, very happy with it. The market's been excited about it. Next slide, please. So we've already talked a little bit about some of the safety features about Mobileye in particular for the vision system out front of the vehicle, but we have lots of built-in things too. I know people always think to themselves, my gosh, electric vehicles are, you got this high voltage system. How do you stay safe? And so we have lots of systems built into the product to really keep everybody safe from this high voltage system. There's a thing called high voltage interlock, which basically measures resistance across the entire vehicle at any given time in the high voltage system and will shut it off if that ever becomes too low. We have the battery management system, which keeps the batteries in a very, very happy place, right? It controls voltage of going in and going out of the batteries to maintain life, and to keep everybody happy. The batteries, I always like to say, live in Goldilocks town. They don't like to be too hot. They don't like to be too cold. So the BMS also keeps control of all its capabilities for chilling and heating if it's required. We're adding some new safety features like electronic stability control and active braking. These are things we've heard from our customers about how they want to see these vehicles behaving, and bringing better safety functions to these vehicles. These are all coming soon, as you can see here. We expect to have them early next year. And then the first responder loops, what these are is just a little clip that that firefighters, or if there's an accident, you can cut this, and basically terminates the high voltage system from the rest, and isolates the high voltage system away from the rest of the vehicle, so that you can do what you need to do to get to help people if there's an accident of some kind. Next slide. There we go. Thank you. I know I just covered a tremendous amount of data there. Are there any questions I can answer from a technology perspective?
Yeah, just a reminder to everyone, you can put your questions or your comments into the chat there. Also, a quick reminder that this event is being recorded, and a copy will be sent out along with a copy of the slides within 24 hours to everyone. One question about the technology side of things is, with the Mobileye technology, if there is, say, a sudden stop or some other type of potentially unsafe behavior, is the supervisor alerted to that, or do they have to go back through to find that type of information?
We can use, so Mobileye does not have a video feed for us to consume. It is purely a vision system that will identify things, i.e. close to a collision, there is a pedestrian very close to you, you're approaching. We can record those instances and show a timestamp. So you will get identifiers when the Mobileye system alerts the driver of something that it's unsafe. But for the vision system solution, or like a recording of that incident, you would either need to supply your own video recording capabilities. And we do have that on our roadmap to be able to allow for integration of cameras into our system to allow for recording of those incidences also.
And another question is about maintenance on the trucks. Is that required to be done by a specific company? Does it have to be done by you, servicing the battery, that type of thing?
I'll let Stan take that.
Okay.
Well, so the maintenance is very different, as you all know, on electric versus diesel and natural gas. There's no engine, there's no after treatment, there's nothing that you typically have to worry about relative to diesel and natural gas. So the nice thing about the technology that Paul has programmed into this truck is, he said, preventative maintenance. He also meant predictive maintenance, right? So we can tell what's going on with the truck. There are preventative maintenance items that you always have to take care of. There is oil, there is coolant in the truck, but it's very different than cooling and lubricating a diesel engine. So from that perspective, there are maintenance schedules. But when we do the analysis, diesel versus electric, you're taking out so many things that you don't have to worry about from an electric perspective versus diesel. Now, the way we have built our truck is the front half of the truck, the cab is the same, the digital dash we have in diesel and electric, but then, under the cab, it's completely different the way, because you have a charging infrastructure, you have a cooling infrastructure, then you have the high voltage system and the battery pack, but then behind the battery pack, you have your inverter and then our motor, but the rest of the truck is just like a diesel truck. It's Dana axles, Bendix brakes, the same frame rails that we use on diesel. So just from a maintenance perspective, we feel as though there's a lot fewer things you have to worry about. But to answer the question about, we would prefer that you go through our authorized dealers who you typically are going to purchase the truck from, but we also offer fleets the ability to do their own warranty work and service work as long as they go through our certification program and work that paperwork back through our dealers. We call that dealer sponsored warranty. And the warranty on an electric truck is different than it is on the diesel, because we have Cummins and Allison, Dana, Bendix, and we have different suppliers when it comes to the electric side. So we make it easy from a warranty perspective. We're covering you basically bumper to bumper for 5 years. So it's on us.
Great. Another question is, do you have infrastructure charging stations going into place now for the BEV vehicles? Is that something you guys install at the locations?
We do not do the installation. We partner with Positive Energy, and they work hand in hand with us to do site evaluations, what the charging needs would be for a given customer. We do sell their products through our sales organization and our dealers, but as far as actually doing the installations, we do not do that. Positive Energy, I do believe, Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, has some electric partners and electricians that they can help as part of that whole overarching product line that they offer to put in the infrastructure to charge a truck.
That's right. So we partnered with Positive Energy for this reason, right? We want to sell trucks. We're a truck manufacturer, a truck OEM. We don't want to do the installation of, for lack of a better phrase, a gas station, right? And so we've partnered with this great company, and they can take everything they need to do, including, they make it turnkey. You say, hey, they'll come to your site visits. They'll look at existing infrastructure that you have, existing electrical inputs that you have from the power company, and provide a plan and a turnkey solution and project plan, and even hire the people to come do all the installation work to get it done.
Yeah, and I will say this: we will provide a level 2 charger with a truck if you need it, and that level 2 charger is pretty simple to install with a, is it 240, right, Paul? It's a local electrician. Most of the customer locations that we look at are wired to handle a level 2.
And we have a software question. For the software that shows the route and turn by turn, does it function like routing software showing time at stop, or talk to a can counter?
It will do turn by turn directions and routing. It can show the time of when you sat at that location for stop. Absolutely. Todd, did that answer your question?
Yeah, Todd, if you have additional questions, let us know. Oh, he says, yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And John wanted to know, what about service trucks, lube trucks? Do you have a model to look at or a configuration that can be viewed?
Yes. So one of our dealers, Custom Truck One Source out of Kansas City, Missouri, is one of the largest upfitters of service trucks and lube trucks. So we do work with them as a partner to install service trucks. They're the ones that installed the Terex digger derrick. They are actively designing and engineering other applications. So once we design the truck and the way that the frame's laid out today, you don't have to use Custom Truck. You can use any body upfitter, but we are just selling the truck to our dealer, and then they have to figure out what they want to do with it in terms of the application. We do have some strategic partnerships like with Elgin, where they buy the truck and they do the upfitting that's very, very specific to that sweeper body. So, there are options out there, but our chassis is very conducive for service trucks and lube trucks.
Mm-hmm. And I think related to that, there was a question about what body companies you're working with for the refuse trucks.
All of them. I mean, on the BEV specifically, Yeah, I mean, it's all of them. I mean, we have the truck you're going to see in Waste Expo with Labrie for Casella. It's a pretty sophisticated automated side loader. We have a really nice partnership with Heil. We have a truck with McNeilius that we're working on. We have another one with AMRAP. So yeah, I mean, we have a couple with New Way and Curb Tender and Easy Pack. So it's everybody really.
And could you talk a little bit more about the range, particularly for the BEV and the refuse side?
Paul, you want to take that one?
Yeah, so I like to say 100 miles for refuse. And that's with functioning EPTO, and we've done quite a few of those now with a rear loader. And to answer, kind of skip ahead to hotter temperatures, we actually did that test route in Scottsdale. We delivered a demo unit Scottsdale in August, so it was 116 degrees outside, and it's still, I think it got 87 miles with 20% battery left in it still when it returned. So we always like to say around 100 miles, even in extremely high temperatures.
So and just to add to that, we have the configuration of 240 kilowatt, which that alley truck that I showed earlier, that's kind of the application for that. And the Paul's talking about it. It was a 16-yard rear loader, right? So we also have, there was a picture he showed of a 400 kilowatt, which that's what we use on the big boy trucks for we have a rapid rail Heil unit that's out there. We have we have several other ones, the New Way unit. We have one that we're working on, Boyven unit through Heil. So there's some cool stuff, but the 400 kilowatt, the more payload you add, the heavier the truck gets. We kind of try to be conservative, 80 to 120 miles, depending on the payload, the routing, how much regen you have. So, I always like to say it depends, but a good number is 100.
And then there was a question about the pricing compared especially to diesel.
So, that's it. It really depends on the configuration, but I would say on average 1.5 times more than diesel. I think we are getting more and more competitive on the single axle 240 kilowatt truck for that general freight and the tractor application. When I say competitive, it means versus a comparable diesel truck. So, the big boy truck with the 400 kilowatts still, it's up there relative to the diesel, probably a little bit closer to 1.5 to 1.75 times the price. But we're actively trying to get costs down. And then of course, in the states where you have grants and vouchers, like HVIP in California, there's money out there to make it more digestible. And again, the financing, a lot of the trucks that we're putting on the road today, we financed them with an FMV lease. So I think that makes it a lot more competitive.
And there was a question about when there are truck fires, I'm assuming they mean fires in the rear of the cab. Is there any special training or information that firefighters need to be able to handle those fires?
Is that a question about batteries or
I think that's the implication is,
yeah.
do the fires need to be handled differently?
Yeah, I think there's two different use cases in that. One is for thermal runaway of the lithium batteries, which obviously that's designed not to happen. But if it does, I don't think you can put those out. I think they just burn out. For any other type of fires, like inside the body, you would just extinguish those just the same way you do today, right? Those are perfectly fine to use however you want to distinguish them. In fact, we've had somebody was using one of our bodies and they crushed some batteries in the back of it and caught fire, and the fire department came and put it out without any incident other than that. But there is a loop, a high voltage loop to be able that the firefighters have, and it's well labeled on the vehicles to be able to cut to basically remove all high voltage from the body of any kind.
But we do have training and certifying of, our dealers and all kinds of safety protocols. I mean, we're building 2 of these a day in New Philadelphia. So, we have batteries and turning trucks on all the time. So we are very sensitive to the safety aspect of the truck and dealing with high voltage.
Gotcha. So it's not like, when you have a CNG truck and there's specific ways that you need to be putting the fire out.
There are, and those protocols are, so our batteries are supplied by CATL. They have their protocols, right? So we try to follow and stay in line with what they recommend doing. And, not all fires are created equal, like Paul kind of alluded to. So there are protocols related to there could be a thermal event. There is a thermal event. What kind of thermal event? So, we don't have to get into the weeds on that here, but there are specific steps you have to take relative to what's going on with the truck.
Great. Another question is about the number of batteries that are on the Muni option and what the weight is on those.
Paul, you want to take that one, or?
It's a 240 kilowatt battery is what we have been using for most of our L&T products. That has been very successful inside of a lot of the municipalities that have been using it and checking it out. It was 12,800 pounds on the front axle.
And how many packs are we using in the 240, Paul?
I think it's a total of 6.
Yeah. And then we go to it's a different pack on the 400. They're bigger. And then we hang some more on the frame. You probably saw in that picture that he was showing. So it's a different configuration with bigger packs on the 400.
And what is the average life on those batteries, or how often can they be recharged?
Yeah, they can be recharged daily. We expect them to be fully discharged and recharged actually every day. So we expect the battery should last 10 years.
And related to that, how long does it take a truck to charge back up to 100%?
That one's always, that one's always a fun question. And the easy answer is however many kilowatts you can put in at one time is basically however much you do it for the simple math equation. So if you could put 240 kilowatts in at one time, it would charge it in or 240 kilowatts per hour, you would charge it up in an hour. So if you did it with a 12 kilowatt or 19 kilowatt, which is Stan was alluding to earlier, we can actually ship a level 2 charger that can go to 19 kilowatts. It'll charge all the way up in about 12 hours. But it's really dependent upon how fast you can get that electricity into the truck is really the question about how long it'll take to charge. We like it the slowest possible. So again, the refuse space in these last mile delivery spaces are great for this use case because they're coming back home, getting charged up all night long for 12 hours, probably 10, 12 hours. Come in the morning, unplug it, go to your route, come back in, plug it back in, ready to rock.
And this is a question you might not have an answer for, but have you got feedback from drivers about these trucks driving any differently from other refuse trucks they're familiar with?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stan, I'll let you take the first swing at that.
Well, the first thing we get comes really quiet. So the only noise you're hearing is the body, right? So some of the feedback has really made us look at the cab, because you could, when you're running a diesel truck and the body's working, you don't hear all the squeaks and potentially wind noise, air noise, things like that. So that, that's something that is a feedback point for us. So we're looking at that. they're also very quick. They're like a very, very fast go-kart. So, Paul spends time, calibrating and making sure that he had mentioned earlier, the road speed set to where your safety director and the fleet managers want it. But we can also program how quickly it gets to speed, right? Relative to the body you have on the truck and the load and what you're doing with it. And, we did a lot of work with that Elgin sweeper because it creeps. And so we can do a lot of cool stuff with the software, but Paul's been engaged a lot in California with demos that we've been doing and use cases. So he may want to add to what I've just said.
Yeah, we can, my team has full functionality of the pedal map and the torque and everything else. And so we can do lots of different customization capabilities for the vehicle and how it drives. We have heard lots of feedback on, again, like what Stan was saying, the quietness, of course, which is actually super beneficial. Most people really enjoy that. The other piece is regen braking. Sometimes people want more regen braking than they're currently getting. And so we can change different things for configurations for those pedal maps for customers depending on what we want to be able to accomplish. But everybody's been very happy with how the vehicle's been driving. In fact, everybody likes it better than the diesel and CNG.
A question about, are you working with dealer network or customers to help source available grants or government money available for these EVs? I know that's a hot topic right now.
Yeah, so we have our own grants and voucher staff, and we're constantly looking for published opportunities for money, whether it's a VW program or it's state money or the program like HVIP in California, JZIP in New Jersey. We have our own staff, and we do help our dealers and our customers find that money and get access to it. All of these grants have a customer dealer OEM aspect to them, meaning that there is a process and there's paperwork involved. So we try to take as much of that off of the customer and dealer as we can. But when it's time to actually get the money, there is a high level of engagement from the customer and the dealer to demonstrate to the funding authority that this deal is happening, right? Whether it's a retail buyer's order, or it's a purchase order between the two entities. There's some complexity there, but it's not something that's terribly difficult. It's just finding the money, understanding the process, and then just getting it done. And we're highly engaged in that in the states where there's a lot of money flowing: New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, California, obviously.
And a question about whether the truck is able to move when the charger is plugged in.
Yeah, you can't shift it into gear whenever the charger is plugged in. We alert the driver via the dash.
That sounds like a good feature.
Don't want to drive away with it.
Another question, earlier on in the presentation, you had mentioned that multiple steering configurations were available. Can you talk more about what those configurations are?
Yeah, so we have our standard left-hand steer, we have right-hand steer, we have dual steer. So those are the three primary main ones that we offer. And then with our crew cab, the seating positions, there's some different seating positions. There's bench seat, there's a seat behind the passenger side. There's various things that we do with the truck that's unique to Battle Motors.
Okay. And another question was on one of the slides was mentioned non-mind JSON RESTful service. What is that?
Yeah, that's a fair question. Basically, it's a normalized JSON data element that we use a lot in internet transportation between systems. And so as two web servers communicate with each other, or servers in this use case, application servers, JSON is probably the preferred way to be able to send contextual information back and forth.
Gotcha.
So it's just internet data transfer protocol, essentially.
And another question about, I guess this is looking for you guys to look into your crystal balls. Do you think there'll be more interest in the medium duty or the Class 8 market in the near future?
I'm saying medium duty. There's a lot of movement in the market on the light side, right? So you have Ford and Freightliner, Sprinter, Mercedes. There's a lot of stuff going on the light side, and a lot of municipalities are saying, all right, we've got that covered, cars and light duty trucks, and now they're trying to step up into the next area that they can electrify, right? So a lot of testing going on the heaviest side, the Class 8 side. What can we get out of a 400 kilowatt, 32-yard rear loader or automated side loader? Can I get the same type of performance I get out of a diesel? So a lot of testing going on there. But I think the biggest growth area right now, from what our perspective is that medium duty segment, that 33,000 GVW, probably I would say 19.5 to 33. Because the government hasn't allowed for FET to be relieved on electric vehicles. So once you get over 33, you're into the FET land, which is 12% of a big number. So municipalities, privates are looking at that 19.5 to 33 area. What can we buy? What can we use from an electric platform standpoint? And we're getting a lot of interest in that 11-yard curb tender rear loader and a 13-yard rear loader that we're putting together. We'll have the 11-yard curb tender in our booth at Waste Expo. So yeah, I think that area is going to be big. And if anybody went to NTEA, there was a lot of medium duty trucks, electrified medium duty trucks out there from almost every OEM.
And another question to make you look into your crystal ball. Do you have any sense about how ERINs, the electric renewable identification numbers, might change the landscape if they go forward?
Well, I don't know, Paul.
No, I don't know the answer to that either. What? Crystal ball is comes back blurry.
Another question is, can you talk a little bit more about the lease program and what sort of the benefits are around that?
Yeah, so two types of leases. There's a track lease and an FMV, fair market value lease. So the most popular around the electric is the fair market value lease. So what that is it's a zero down. You don't have to put zero down, but we offer zero down walk away lease. So what that does is we take the cap cost, including the body of the truck, and we amortize it over a term. The most popular term that we have and the best payment that we offer is 5 years, which aligns with our warranty as well. There is a residual built into that structure, and of course you have the interest factor, the rate built in. So what we try to do is come up with a payment that is attractive to whoever we're talking to. So again, Battle Motors Capital has the most aggressive residual values in the industry. So what that means to customers is the payment's going to be lower, frankly. And then the aspect of it is it's a cash flow tool, because you're not spending $400,000 to $600,000 up front, and you have no residual risk on the backside. It is also an operating lease, so it's off balance sheet. So you actually deduct it from net income. So it's for some companies, it's a tax play. So, from my perspective, the benefit is preserve cash, off balance sheet treatment. You can write the payment off, net income, and then you have no residual risk at the backside. Track lease is a little different, just because it's the residual is set by the lessee. So, and it's not off balance sheet. So it's a little bit different. It's not as popular because, again, when it comes to electric and technology risk and residual risk, they really want us to take that, and we're glad to.
And we have a couple minutes left here, so everyone, a reminder to put in your questions or comments. You can also reach out to our speakers afterwards, and I'm sure they can provide the contact info for that. But I wanted to make sure people had time to put in their questions. One more, or at least one more question was, obviously refuse trucks start and stop a lot. Are there any benefits or problems with using BEV for these vehicles that start and stop so much?
No, it's actually, Paul, you talked to the regenerative braking, but it's actually better in terms of recharging the batteries. It's hard to say what the brake life savings is going to be. I mean, the industry is kind of kicking around 30%. But just like in a golf cart, when you take your foot off the throttle, it slows down. And then we have three different settings for that. High, medium, low for just simplicity. But the more stop and go that you have in the vehicle, and you'll use the brake. You won't use it as much as you do in the diesel truck. So I don't know, Paul, if you want to talk to more about the programming side of that.
Yeah, so we give you the flexibility to allow for regen levels. So we have low, medium, and high, or low, standard, and high. We like to drive it on standard. But as you let go of the accelerator, you will start to use the momentum of the vehicle to basically put battery power back into the battery from the momentum of the vehicle driving down the road. So we have the electric vehicles, both vocational trucks and our own residential vehicles, are most optimal in city streets and stopping quite often. Highway usage is the worst use case for electric vehicles. So in cases of delivery where you're stopping often and refuse, it's actually quite ideal for the BEV solution.
Great.
And I think one of the nice parts that I don't think Stan even talked about was that us at Battle, we make diesel, CNG, and BEV. So we have the right tool for all the use cases you have. Electric might not be the right answer for long haul trucks or long routes, but we do have other products to answer those requirements.
Excellent. So if people want to contact one or both of you going forward, what would be the best way for them to get in touch with you guys?
We'll provide our email address, and we can also provide cell numbers. I mean, I'm always available through text or phone call.
I like carrier pigeons. If you have,
I was going to say U.S. mail, yeah. But if anyone's going to be at Waste Expo or ACT, Paul and I will be. I don't know, Paul, if you're going to be at ACT first or second or both. I don't know. You can be in two places at once. I'm going to be at Waste Expo. We have ACT fully staffed, but we're going to have 5 trucks in the booth at Waste Expo. We're excited about natural gas, diesel, and two BEV units. So 5 trucks in the booth. So we're excited about what's coming up next week. Love to meet you guys.
That's great to hear. And here's a real challenge. Do you know what your booth number is?
Jen?
Oh,
I do. Give me 1 second and I'll tell you.
But we can send something out to everybody on the call here today too.
Excellent.
Like an invite to the booth. But go ahead, Jen. Sorry.
I will, but so you all can write it down. In Waste Expo, we're at booth 4247, and in ACT, we're in booth 6778. And I'll put it in the chat.
Excellent. So a quick reminder, I've said it before and it's worth saying again, we are recording today's event. We will send out a link to the recording along with a copy of the slides within 24 hours. We thank you so much for coming here today and hearing this presentation. A reminder that our next SWANA webinar is going to be taking place on Wednesday, May 3rd, and that is going to be on achieving circular economy through sustainable waste management. That one is at noon and is free for YPs to attend. We also have another webinar coming up on May 17th, which is transforming landfills to meet new needs and be good neighbors. That is going to be an excellent webinar in which we get together 7 solid waste professionals to talk about how storytelling is important to leading your team and your community. So I think that's a very interesting and somewhat different type of presentation. So I encourage you all to check that out as well. Again, that'll be May 17th at 2 p.m. And you can see there that Jen has put in the locations to see them at their 2 upcoming events, as well as the web address and where you can follow them as well, since there's obviously a lot coming up that Battle Motors is still continuing to develop. So we'll be hearing about some of these new projects as they come. So with that, I want to thank everyone for coming. And of course, I want to thank Stan and Paul for your great presentation here today. Stan and Paul, any final words before we close out here?
Thank you for the opportunity. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. And I want to wish everyone a great rest of the day, a wonderful rest of the week, and I hope to see you at a future SWANA webinar. Bye-bye.
Bye.